Good morning, good morning. I'm on a school schedule, so I slept in a little while this morning. I don't get to do that very often, so I was so glad I got to. So many of you may be on your way to work, you may be at work, you may still be at home drinking your coffee. It's a rainy, ooky day, but anyway, here we are, and it's almost 8 o'clock. And it's getting ready to be the most wonderful time of the year. It's the most wonderful time. I love Christmas. I love Christmas music. I love everything about Christmas. But I know we have to get through Thanksgiving first. So I'm going to go ahead and start this morning. My 3 little words are you never know. You never know. Last week, my oldest grandson, Barrett, when I got over there in the morning, he was so excited to tell me that he had won his class spelling bee. And he said, Cupcake, guess what the word was that I won on? And I said, what word? And Barrett replied and said, disability. He was more excited about telling me what word he got than winning the spelling bee. For those of you who don't know, Barrett has a little brother, Jack, who is disabled. And Jack's whole little life, we hadn't hidden anything from Barrett. And we've talked about disability and what disabilities Jack has. So he's seen that word over and over and over. On the way to school that day, Barrett and I talked about him getting the word disability. I told him that getting the word disability was God showing up. We visited about how we never know how God will show up every day. He is active and he's present in our everyday life. We shouldn't be surprised when things like the word disability appear. God showing up isn't something we plan. It doesn't have to have a timeline. It isn't expected. It can be sudden because God is on active duty 24/7. Another example that I'll never forget is when Lauren and I were headed to my friend Laura's house to take a shower when the last week of Stringer's life, and we drove by the Goodwill store, and we looked over, and in neon lights, the words Goodwill are supposed to light up. However, one of the O's was burned out, so it said God will. And we realized then that goodwill shining towards us that said God will was the reminder of it was God will. It was his will. It wasn't our will. The presence of God in the unexpected gives us hope for God in the future and in the eternal. We need these little glimpses of him to lead us through times and situations that are difficult. Think about Moses and the burning bush in Exodus 3. Moses could have thought because of the climate, the burning bush was just burning. However, when he stopped and he looked and he realized that the bush was actually not burning, that's when God spoke to him through that burning bush. But it was only then that he stopped, looked, and listened that God showed up. And how many times do we miss God showing up because we just don't stop long enough and we don't look and we don't listen? God is always working. It may not be something magnificent. He may show up in a spelling word or a goodwill sign. Do your part and stop, look, and notice, because we never know where God will show up. Since he shows up for us, remember, show up for him every day. Start your day in the Word. Show up for others, just like Jesus did, serving others. And show up for you, because you need to fill your cup before you can fill other cups. And we will find joy when we show up for Jesus, show up for others, and show up for ourselves. You have a great day, and remember, as Father Mike says, I'll pray for you, you pray for me. As Tara Lee Cobble says, he's where the joy is. And I'm telling you, Cupcake loves you, and so does Jesus. So I'll see you next Monday on Coffee with Cupcake, and you have a blessed, grateful Thanksgiving week. And stop, look, and notice where God is showing up for you.